What happens when you mate one of Japan's greatest engines ever built, the 2JZ GTE, with a high mileage, rusty $5,500 E46 BMW M3 and $15K in aftermarket parts? We called it the ultimate BMW M3 rebuild. But when we built this car way back in 2020, we built it with a track-focused mindset, and let's just say it lacks a lot of refinement as a street car. And after neglecting one of our favorite project cars for way too many years, it's time to bring it back and make it better than ever.
First off, I have to apologize to my poor 2JZ M3 here for leaving it sitting around for so long. Man, to think that this car has not moved in 5 years is kind of crazy, and there's a whole host of issues that have happened in 5 years by leaving it and having it sit around, which we will get to in a bit. When I built this car, my priorities were a lot different than they are now. I want a very street-friendly, comfortable, usable car that I can use on the weekends, and this is not it. And I will show you what it has been the bane of my existence when I do street drive this car. When I was building this car, I thought this would be the coolest shifter to have, and truthfully on the racetrack it is pretty awesome because you can see it just feels so crisp and precise, and the throws are so short. But driving this car on the street and using this shifter is just so aggravating because it's such a high effort shifter, and truthfully in like stop and go traffic you don't really want to have to be precise and like throw shifts, as you can see, like so fast. And that is what we're going to address. But first, why don't we take this thing for a drive, because it's been so long since I've driven it, and we'll just go through some of the things that really annoy me with it. So another small little item about the manual transmission setup here is the clutch. It is quite grabby, and it's fine, as you saw there, when it's kind of cold, but the moment it warms up, it does chatter, and it really grabs, because I think this is like a stage 3 spec.
I think it is.
So it's like a 6-puck or something maybe.
It is,
so it's not very street friendly, but you know, it holds the power, so that's nice. But let's just get into the gearbox. Like, look, the shifts are just so high effort. And they just require a lot of, I don't know, not brain power per se, just focus. You know, and that's the one thing.
The gates are so tight that you really have to focus on where you're putting it.
See, like if you're trying to downshift, then for those of you that didn't follow this build, this is a detentless transmission. So this is the gearbox that this car would have came with if it was SMG based. Right? And what this shifter does is, because it's self-centering, it allows you to not have to put detents into the gearbox. So it's kind of a quick little hack if you've got an SMG car that you can run one of these, but the drawback is this right here, and it's just so high effort, as I mentioned. I don't love it.
It's very motorsports, isn't it?
Exactly, for sure. That's it. We're trying to use something on the street that is basically a motorsports grade shifter.
Oh God! It's a time machine.
Come on, man!
I just went back in time.
In an M3, right there.
Oh, it's so good, dude. It's so
just
good.
so smooth.
Oh, it's the best sounding, smoothest running engine. It's so like, good.
It is better, and I've said this in the video series many times when we built this car. It is smoother than the S54 engine.
By far.
It's just like so good, man. It makes all the right noises. It like picks up. Look at that. Oh, so good.
Yeah, it's glorious.
I'm so like in love with this car. All the noises that it makes, the way it drives, it's pretty great. But you can hear, and I don't know if you guys are going to be able to pick this up, the clanking that we have. Maybe we'll roll a window down so people can hear. We have what are StopTech motorsports grade brakes on this car with floating 2-piece rotors. And what that gives us is every time you hit a bump, you kind of have, like right here, let's listen. You guys probably can't hear that, but you have what is this clank and rattle coming from their 2-piece rotors, right? Which is not ideal in any which way. I don't love that, so that's something we need to address. The other thing that it's difficult to see, but there is this weird like dead zone between, I think, 1500 RPM and 2000 that I find, where the car just doesn't really, or the RPMs don't really react in the way they should.
Okay.
So it's certainly something I do want to address with different injectors. I've talked to Sasha about it when he tuned this car originally. He said, yeah, he thinks it's an injector issue, so we're going to end up addressing that. There are a ton of lights on in this car, so
it's
we've got like
BMW.
traction. I know, the airbag, all that.
Part of the charm.
But we should be able to fix that, DP. I feel like with a little bit of can work, we should be able to figure that out. True. I hope.
You've gotten better at that stuff.
Yes.
You've had a lot of practice now.
Yeah. All right. Let's just go for one more rip here.
Give me the flavor. Just lighten up the tires.
Man.
God, this thing hauls ass. Wow.
After all these years. And yes, I did put new gas in it, everybody. So the 5-year-old gas that was in here is mixed in, so it might be nothing.
Previous gen Contis, this build is so old.
Yeah.
We gotta update the tires probably too.
Well, we've got a lot of exterior stuff to do as well. So, but man, just getting in this car and driving it just reminds me how much I love it. It's so amazing. Behold everything that makes all those noises sound so good and all that power, an internally stock 2JZ VVTi engine. And some of you will notice right away, what do we have here? A whole bunch of coolant that has overflowed. Well, when I picked this car up at the old shop, it had a puddle of coolant underneath it and I didn't know what it was. And it turns out that one of the feed lines to the turbo had cracked. We have rubber hose running to what is a quick connect fitting to an AN, and that right there kind of has been superheated over time and cracked and ended up pouring a whole bunch of coolant out. I had to fix that before I could drive it here, spilled some coolant, so that is something that we are going to have to address. We are going to be rebuilding the water lines for the turbo. Next thing you will see is this here, this monstrosity of a box, DP. I can't believe we kind of let this thing pass as it was, but I think if I recall properly, we were superheating the intake, so I just built this box very quickly for our drag race, and this is kind of what it looked like. I want to get rid of this, so let's just start by unbolting this and having a look what this looks like underneath. Now bear with me, I don't even remember what this looks like underneath here, but whoo, look at that. At least look at this. I put some heat shielding right here. We've got a cold air duct from the bottom right there.
Yeah.
Ooh, man. Oh my God, this doesn't even want to come off. It's been on here for so long, guys. Look at this hose clamp is loose. I can't even move this. Oh my God, wow. Holy, that's crazy.
It's cooked on there.
It is cooked on there. Oh, there it goes, okay. Wow, all right, let's see, will this come out now? Oh yeah. Look at this setup. Look at this, we even ran like the rubber, whatever you want to call this, like seal around the bottom, around the tube, like for a perfect fit. It's just engineered to perfection.
It's actually pretty darn
well, when like we've got the reflector shield, the DI on one side and the other side. Holy smokes. Let's quickly pull this off. Oh, it's still hot, DP, from our driving there. Just to see what this looks like underneath, if we have any sort of soot building up in an area, to see if we have leaking going on, because this manifold, when we built this car, this manifold didn't have a V-band, so we had one welded on, which is not ideal because those do tend to crack after a while, and it's just been a very, very tight setup. Truthfully, if I had more time, I would like to change this whole turbo setup up to something a little bit newer. Artec makes a bunch of very cool manifolds that would fit up so well. So far, so good. I do not see any soot or cracking around the manifold to the exhaust housing, and back here to the downpipe. Everything seems to be holding, so I don't know, it might just be a slight leak on the wastegate possibly. And you do have with these V-bands, I find When the car is cold, you can get a little bit of sputtering until everything kind of like warms up and properly seals. So that might just be the case. What was I thinking when I did this, DP? Maybe we were in a rush, but this looks awful. I mean, it certainly serves
the dyno.
Yeah, serves a purpose, but holy smokes, we are definitely gonna need to clean this up so it looks a little bit better. I'm gonna give you guys a quick little sneak peek as to what is hopefully to come if we can pull this off. This is a Horsepower Freaks duct, and you can see it lives right here where the cold air would come in through here and then duct itself over to what would be their airbox right here. I'm just not sure if we're gonna be able to build something that is going to fit in here because there are a lot of space constraints going on. However, we have a pretty cool plan for that. 2020 Pete designed this, and now 2026 Pete is going to design a proper 3D printed airbox with our Prusa Core 1L 3D printer. This thing is one of the best on the market, super high quality, made in Prague in the Czech Republic. Now, I'm not at a stage where I can learn all this in the span of a couple weeks and design a box and everything. So we are going to have our buddy Fred from FF Tech come down and help us with this. But I think this is going to be a super cool project for us and hopefully level us up to a point where we can start using this on the regular and design parts that we need around the shop for our cars and other small little things. The other item that I have to have on this car for it to be enjoyable in the summertime is AC. So we will be tackling that. I did remove some of the lines, so I ended up purchasing what is kind of like a complete AC kit. I'm just a little bit concerned as to the routing, whether it's going to interfere with the turbo kit that wasn't on this car prior. So that is certainly a rabbit hole we are going to tackle and show you guys how to install custom AC on a BMW with a 2JZ. So let's have a quick peek underneath, as I haven't seen this car in 5 years, and I like this. Unlike most BMWs, there is no oil leaks. So clean. That is refreshing. And as we go down here, oh look, our gearbox does have a bit of sweating going on. I don't think it's actually leaking. It's just sweaty from, you know, being a BMW. Our titanium exhaust system has held up quite nicely. I think that's what has such a great and unique sound to this car. And what I have seen is we have a drip going on around this area. It looks like we have a brake line leak. For those of you that don't know, we bought this car super cheap. I think it was like $6,000 or $8,000 Canadian way back, and it is a Canadian car, which means it was rusty in certain sections, and these brake lines do not look good. So I think what we're gonna do is drop this plastic piece right now so I can have a better look here and assess what exactly is leaking. So unfortunately, I don't really see much more after I've taken this plastic off. And these lines don't look bad, DP. Like, look at them.
No, they really don't.
They look very clean.
Maybe it's further up the
It's gotta be further up, which is not good. I'd rather have the brake here because if it's up there, man, I'm like into the territory of possibly having to drop this bloody fuel tank, which would be a nightmare. So we got the old borescope out here, and look at the rust on these lines. Dang, man. You can almost see, like, this does not look good in any which way. Like, look at that. Oh, we've gotta have a brake somewhere. So quick update, Dave jumped inside the car and pumped the brakes, and you will see in a second, there it is, that is a leak. So we in fact do have to replace the brake line, and that means dropping this fuel tank because we just don't have the space here to fit in there. But I'm gonna be dropping the gearbox anyways because I do have a replacement with detents, and we're gonna have to do something about the shifter. I'm gonna try to install an OE shifter, which is gonna be a challenge. I can't really show you anything right now. Why? Because of all of the shielding here, but trust me, we're gonna have a little bit of work here to do. So I think when we drop this off, I'm gonna have to pull the drive shaft and all this anyway, so I might as well drop the fuel tank, redo those lines because they are looking mighty rusty up top. And as for the rear subframe, we did a ton of work back here. We reinforced all the mounting points. We actually have this really cool brace in the back of the trunk, and you can see all the adjustable arms, the JRZs, everything is fresh and clean. So thankfully, I don't think I'm gonna be addressing much here. And one of my favorite and most unique pieces on this car is this Bimmer World rear diffuser, which converts this car over to a single exit, which I think is very fitting for the engine swap. Kind of JDM looking. You got this nice vibrant titanium muffler on here and this beautiful carbon piece right here that just like changes the look and aggressiveness on the rear of this car. That confirms it. 2019 is the date of manufacture on these Extreme Contact Sports, so not O2s. Man, that is wild to think we built this car that long ago. And spoiler alert, we are gonna be changing up the wheel and tire package on this car for something that I think is gonna be pretty nice. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Although these wheels are OE E90 M3 rims and I do love them. I think they suit the car very well, but it is time to say goodbye to them. I think this may be one of the few BMWs that we did convert to studs and I do appreciate that. It certainly gives a motorsports grade look, which I was going for at the time, and you can see these dusty Stop Tech calipers. And as I mentioned on the drive, you can see these are floating rotors. So that noise right there is what you hear when you go over bumps. So I'm gonna try to convert these back, and I think all I have to do is tighten some bolts, TP. Now, as for other exterior mods, the only thing I do really wanna change is the front bumper. You guys will notice there are these beautiful cracks in my carbon here from an unfortunate accident at NV Auto on the alignment rack. So at this point I was like, I need to replace the lips, so I might as well replace the entire front bumper. For those of you that know how many bumper options are out there, you may have a clue as to what I'm gonna be going with. And the other thing that I don't love at this point is I want this car to look more OEM, and the yellow high beams, which look cool, need to go as well back to an OEM reflective silver, which I think is just gonna give this car that OEM look that I am after. Other than that, I don't think there's much that I need to do. If you guys have any suggestions, certainly post in the comments. Same thing with the interior. I am pretty happy with this. However, I do have some minor little updates that I'm gonna do, including changing out the silver trim for what I think is, you know, it almost looks like body color. Like it is black, but it has that like tint of blue. So carbon Schwartz, maybe? I'm not sure. We're gonna definitely do that. And I wanna change the personal steering wheel that I do love so much to an OE one. Trouble is finding OE wheels that haven't been rewrapped is difficult, so I'm still on the search for that one. Guys, these pesky door lock problems continue with all our cars. Dave had an issue with the GS430, and my BMW here, you see, locks that door, does not lock this door. So the passenger side does work. After multiple clicks there, it is opening, but this side does not. So do we go down the rabbit hole of trying to fix this? Is this a module? Is this another regulator, lock regulator here? Post in the comments, guys, because after the GS, I'm not so sure I want to tackle this. I still have a working key here that, look, this is fine. This is fine, right, everybody? And since it has been so long, we will actually be taking this car back to the dyno to get a retune and see what kind of power the old girl makes. So you'll have to stay tuned for that one. And we actually wanted to get started on this car, but we are headed down to Monterey Car Week, where we are gonna be at the BMW CCA event, Legends of Autobahn with Continental Tire next week. So we are gonna leave that for the next episode, where we are gonna go full speed into addressing all of the issues we showed you guys today. So if you guys are interested in coming to see me and Dave, please come to that event next week. It is on the Thursday, August 13th. So that is gonna be a wrap on this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode into what is arguably one of my favorite vehicles we have ever built. So stay tuned and thanks for watching.